City have now lost 5 games in a row across all competitions after suffering a heavy 4-0 defeat at home to Tottenham at the weekend. City's 52-game unbeaten run, lasting over 2 years, has now come to an end. It was a terrible day at the office for Pep Guardiola's side, and I'm sure you'll have multiple answers to the question that I'm going to ask you now, Stephen. That question is, what went wrong for Man City against Spurs?
Oh God, where do we start? I did know, I did feel like there was always a chance he'd be breaking records and all that kind of stuff when we started doing these chats. Didn't realize it'd be this kind of record, 5 in a row in terms of losses and all that kind of stuff. Right now, it's incredibly hard to digest. But in terms of yesterday, or Saturday even, sorry, it felt like a continuation of the problems that we've already known for City. We're in a weird situation now as City fans, and I guess as a club where the only thing that's going to fix is either an enormous slice of luck, where we see you get a victory sort of last minute to get the momentum going, or time essentially. And you look at the Spurs game, and the problems are so clear. There's a real failing in both boxes. I think a lot of it's down to fitness and confidence, and I do think some of these players are sort of running very much on fumes, and it's not an excuse as that. But like, I don't think it was a coincidence that Stones went off at half time. I think that was planned. I think these players have been sort of patched up and thrown on the pitch, and then doing whatever they can because the options are so drab right now. So I think everyone's running at 60% at very best, and the problem you've got with that, we already weren't a very physical team, so we weren't the most physical, and we're dead on our feet. So it makes for a particularly destructive combination of traits, really. It's really negative right now, and ultimately, City they're sort of beating themselves a little bit too. If we take our chances, and look, before they score, Haaland could have maybe grabbed the brace, 2-0 up, and then that's a very different game of football. Spurs might have scored, but momentum is everything in football, and I would presume the psychological boost, given everything recently, would have been a lot and enough for City to carry on and get the victory. But that fragility kicked in again, and we're seeing it time and time again. Not taking chances, weak, soft defending, unfortunately, for various reasons, and then they score, and our heads drop, and it goes. No, I won't swear. It goes terrible, basically.
Yeah, I think it's just a terrible day at the office. Like I said, City's long injury list obviously is an issue, and I think some of the issues maybe run deeper than that. There
Yeah,
may
I
be a
agree.
few players that big name players that maybe aren't quite pulling the weight at the moment. Intensity levels have dropped considerably, not just this game, but throughout the season, really. Collectively, they're all lacking energy. And of course, fitness issues will play into that.
Hmm.
City's pressing game's not really the same now. Still defensively weak, like you said. They're just being carded far too open
Yeah.
by teams now on a regular basis. And that was once again shown by Spurs. And then at the other end, just not taking the chances. I think they're so reliant on Haaland to provide the goods, but some of these other attackers now need to step up and help. The likes of Phil Foden, where has he been now this season? There's a lot of games that he's played and just hasn't seemed to have turned up as well.
It's definitely a little bit disappointing because like, you sort of know it anyway, but not every player is the natural leader. Some people are captains, like proper captains. Some people are like your sort of your right hand man, your vice, your assistant, and those people don't tend to have the same authority or impact on a team. And annoyingly, I feel like we're missing of all the players that are missing. It's essentially those ones that we need right now. I think a lot of it's on leadership, and I've been really disappointed watching the heads drop from a lot of players. And there's a lot of players who've got a lot of experience and a lot of success. You probably should know better than heads to drop. But I think it's really telling that the likes of Foden, Bernardo, incredibly hardworking players for what it's worth, really good hardworking players. People like those guys, even Haaland, they don't have the same, I would say, same energy or sort of impact on a team as a Rodri, Diaz, or De Bruyne. Those three particularly jump out to me as like when Kevin De Bruyne came on the pitch, that was the only positive. For 60 minutes, he was brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant. You could see immediately he's the kind of guy basically. I think what I'm trying to say in a long roundabout way is that I think some players lead and some people follow, and I feel like we've got a lot of the followers on the pitch right now, and the problem with that is those people are very susceptible to the mood of the team. And unfortunately, I feel like people like Phil and Bernardo are. Like, I don't think they're going to be the ones that are going to turn it round. Whereas if De Bruyne is on the pitch or Rodri or whatever, they might come alive because I think they look to those people naturally. And I think it's a bit of an issue, and I'm a bit disappointed, if I'm being honest. But I don't feel they're stepping up. Those guys, I don't blame them for it. I don't think it's in their mentality. I don't think it's who they are. I want them to do better, but I don't think they're not trying. I just don't. I think that's a bit of really oversimplification of what they're trying, what they're going through right now. But it's a shame, yeah. Like De Bruyne's impact for 60 minutes, He terrified Spurs. They sat deeper. Everyone moved quicker. Everyone was making runs that they didn't previously. He created two big chances. It's like the chance he made for Haaland, the chance he made for Gundogan. They look so simple, but no one else is doing that for City right now. Like, it's just simple little passes, knowing exactly where to be. There's little perfectly weighted through balls in behind. Gundogan making a run that he's not made in ages, ages. That running behind there. Like, I've not seen him do that for probably since he came back. And that was because De Bruyne was on the pitch and Gundogan made the run because he'll find him. So, guess yeah, like I want more from the senior players. I just don't think they're going to do it without Diaz, Rodri, or De Bruyne because I think those guys are the true captains, which is frustrating.
Yeah, frustrating, and I think credit as well should go to Spurs. I think a lot of their
Yeah,
players did turn up. I thought Kulusevski and Maddison in particular were brilliant for them. Vicario made a number of important saves as well between the sticks. I think there was question marks before the game about how Dragusin and Davis would cope as a centre back partnership, but in the absence of Romero and Van der Ven, but they were also impressed. Um, and yeah, I think City sort of the second half they were
yeah,
almost forced to play a bit like they did against Arsenal a few months ago. There was, sort of passing the ball around the edge of the box and having shots, defenders sometimes having shots from distance. Now is, from
yeah.
City's point of view, really frustrating. But yeah, just a bad day at the office. Would you go as far to say that it was maybe the worst performance under a Guardiola team since at City?
I don't think it was. It felt like a new low in terms of the momentum, but I don't think it was the worst performance because I mean, you look at the stats of that game, it probably should have finished 2-2. Like City had plenty of chances. The culmination of it all is incredibly frustrating, and it's definitely a sort of an nadir for Pep in terms of the run that we're on. I don't think it's the worst performance. I think we definitely had worse than that in the past. Like a lot of it's just individual mistakes as well, like beating ourselves. Like Vardiol has been brilliant, but he had a stinker in that game, in my personal opinion. Like really weak for the first goal, second goal, incredibly sloppy pass, and then once again no one picking runners. And but it's not like I don't feel like I think City have had worse performances than that this season. I think Bournemouth was worse. I think we're lucky against Fulham as well. I think they were better than us that day, even though we won. I think it's another bad result, and the scoreline is catastrophic. It's not the worst we played, but it's the what it means is one of the impact could be one of the worst results in Pep's reign in terms of what it does to us in terms of our confidence and what it maybe signals to some of the players.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. And you mentioned Gvardiol. Then he's been so consistent for City, but that day against Spurs was not a great one.
No,
One stat actually from that, which I was quite surprised by, is that although he was quite poor defensively, but offensively he made 8 key passes from open play in that game, which was
did he? That's impressive.
more than any other player in the Premier League this season in a single game, which I thought was remarkable, even more
Yeah, I
so
didn't know
considering
that.
the defender.
Yeah, fair play. That's ridiculous, and he's a
Yeah,
very talented footballer. But he's another one who seems susceptible to the confidence dip right now, and it's going to happen. He's young. I do think a lot of it as well is like he's young, and we're leaning on him quite a lot. And I think it's the same for Savinho and Rico Lewis to an extent. I think we're leaning on a lot of players in previous years would be on the bench. They would be on the bench and get not in a bad way, just they'd be rotating every now and then. I don't think that the plan was ever for Savinho and even Vardy to play every single game. I think they're meant to be rotated, but the injuries have just been huge. Like Kyle Walker, constantly out, so Rico's playing every single week, and midfield issues. Vardy Ake's constantly out, so he's playing every single week. And then Savinho is easily our most informed winger, but he's only 20, and you can see the roughness still there. And like, yeah, so I think there's an element of that too for in defense of Vardy.